So recently I've had a lot of comments from friends, family and people who generally watch my stuff saying, you leave a lot of money on the table. And I don't want to start this video by blowing my own trumpet, so please don't think I'm trying to do that. But I actually enjoy helping people without the need for them to pay me £50 for a coffee meeting or buy my course on being financially free or wealthy or my experience days. Because once upon a time I made a promise to myself that when I get to this level of success, at least in my eyes, in this property game, literally coming from a very humble beginning, I would do my utmost best to give back as much as possible. So I truly hope and feel that anyone who has watched my journey for the past 9 years or 4 to 5 years online can vouch, at least for everything that I share, has no real hidden agenda. But as I'm already getting bored about talking about myself, I want to kind of explain not only that quote, but also why leaving a lot of money on the table for myself isn't actually true. Yes, I could make a fair bit of change selling the course, helping people in how to start property, and I'm 100% confident in my ability to help people navigate the property world and do it much better than the stuff I've already seen out there. But the truth is, the reason I have never seen this as a real option is twofold. Number one, I've spent the last 5 years getting better at what I do and not working on my perception to sell. And I hope my journey today at least shows some level of progress to a normal person who may be like myself, that you can achieve quite substantial strides in this game if you stay true to your values and you keep persevering. And two, more importantly for this actual video itself, is I've raised over £1 million. So leaving money on the table, I can't agree with. And if you are somebody who was a little bit like myself when I first started, i.e. shy, anxious, or just not in the right mindset, then here is how unperfect I am. Success, at least in my own head, because what or four and a can vouch for. Here's a few, and just in case you can see, so that's just a few bloopers I wanted to just show you, just to recognize that speaking coherent English isn't ever something I'm great at, and even doing these videos isn't something I'm naturally great at. But one thing I will say is that if you keep going and you keep persevering on anything, on any journey, any route, you will get better. So anyways, like I always do, timestamps are at the bottom if you want to skip this and jump straight to the nitty gritty. But I truly hope that throughout this video there'll be little nuggets of wisdom that you can at least take away and incorporate in your own life to hopefully raise more money than myself. And I also hope after watching this you'll realize that I'm not like any of these gurus out there who speak about how much money they've raised and claim how well they're doing, yet you still see them asking people on their IG stories or internet posts to invest £10,000 to £5,000 with them. Strange, eh? Considering they're doing so well. And I'm just grateful that I've never ever had to go down that route. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but if you've been following my stuff for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, you've never ever seen me post asking for money. I'm always focused on becoming great first, and I truly believe that when you become great at something, that kind of stuff will follow, as I'm going to show you today. And I also hope at the end of this video you'll recognize you don't need to beg or plead or showcase how great you are, because that's definitely something I didn't do. Because one, I'm not really great, and two, I realized that every single day I learn something new, which actually shows me how little I know about the whole property game. That's quite a humbling experience, at least for myself. But one thing I do know is that integrity is really important. It's important to me, it's part of my value system, and integrity is far more important than just the captions that you see people write about. It's the way that I present myself, and it's definitely the way I've been able to raise over £1 million. So for this video, what I'm going to be doing is firstly explain the mindset around this, then the sums of cash I have actually raised, and give you some information on that, just so you can rest assured I haven't just completely made this up, whilst also highlighting some of the places that you can actually find the investments from. But also I'm going to be giving you some honest truths about how you could potentially do the same, and hopefully maybe even raise more and change your lives. So let's begin. Mindset. So the first and most important thing is mindset. I promise you this is a mindset thing to begin with. When I first heard of the phrase investor finance or OPM or other people's money, the following thoughts came to my head. Firstly, why the hell would somebody else give me money other than my mom and dad? Secondly, why wouldn't they just use it themselves? And third, how can I use their money to benefit myself and them to make it enticing enough for them to part with their money? Now these are all relatively common questions, and understandably questions that may have already risen in your head, or maybe right now as you're watching this video. I experienced them too. But if this is how you are thinking right now, don't worry about it. I thought the same stuff back in the day, especially when I began. So what I'm going to do is break those down very quickly. So let's look at the first one. People give people money every single day. You give business owners money in exchange for goods and services, right? So What I want you to do is think of yourself as offering either one of those. And when you realize you can add value to someone's life, you will instantly have the potential to then warrant an exchange of cash. Now, I struggled immensely with this as I just hate selling. Even from my early days working at Comet and PC World, I was probably the worst salesman ever. I just didn't want to see people overpay for things and often found my own commission suffering just to give them cheaper alternatives. Now, although I don't recommend you being anything like I used to be, the good thing about that was my thought process. I would always under-promise and over-deliver. So if you have the ability to help someone make either monthly cash flow, profits at the end of a project, or just allow them to be part of something that maybe they've always wanted to do, that they will give you money for, then please under-promise and over-deliver. 2. Why wouldn't they just do it themselves? Again, a common question. So as somebody who has invested my own cash and investors' cash into projects for some time now, I have also loaned out cash to investors. We gave around £50,000 last year in return for a fixed fee, as I knew the money in that bank was just sitting there doing nothing. And I personally would rather make 10 to 12% a month from it, rather than just seeing it deteriorate. And in relation to why people don't do it themselves, it's because the truth of the matter is they either lack the time or the skill set. You see, you can have all the money in the world in your back pocket right now, but if you're unable to spend time finding and taking on projects that give yourself the best return, your money is becoming less valuable each and every day. Alongside this, even if you have the time and cash, how do you know what to do with it? It's not as easy as simply watching Homes Under the Hammer, going to an auction house, buying a house, sprucing it up, and then selling it. I tried it, it doesn't always work. And the final question, now this one was something that actually gave me imposter syndrome and quite a bit of anxiety when it first came about. When I was first offered cash, I was shocked, I was happy, pretty excited, and then suddenly anxious. What if I screw this up? Where do I put it? How do I utilize it? How do I make sure nothing goes wrong? Do I now need to find deals with double profit? All these questions rose in my head over and over. But this is where you need to recognize something. Investors have different expectations to yourself a lot of the time. Some may just want 3% a month, others 12%. Some may want equity, others no involvement whatsoever. And these are the questions I can't actually answer for you on this video, but you need to be having with them. Just a very quick one. Smash that like button and subscribe if you're enjoying this, because there's a lot more to come. But remember, just because your full-time gig or side hustle is making a living off property, it may not actually be theirs. This could just be an extra thing for them to do on the side or delve into. Meet their expectations, understand them, and factor them into your analysis when doing deals. Now, of course, they may have a desire to join forces with you too, which, well, I guess is something that you then need to reconsider. Do you take 50% profit on this one to move your journey quicker? Or do you slow yourself down because you want to earn 75% now in the short term? Like I always say though, something of something is better than nothing of nothing. Now, before I move on to my final point, here is a really important point, and I've spoken about it a lot. Don't put money on a pedestal. When I first started full-time investing, money was the resource I lacked the most. I wasn't rich, but as I always state, money is not the most important thing to me. I could do free webinars and upsell the secrets to raising £1 million in finance if I really cared that much about it. But I want you to understand here that your skill set in the game or ability to work tirelessly 24/7 for that investor is worth just as much as money. Now, this quote isn't a cliche about time being our most important commodity. Rich and wealthy people know this better than anyone. And I'll be completely honest, I hope one day to be in a position when I can just loan my money for returns and spend time doing things I love, like this YouTube channel, full time. Next up, I want you to value yourself first and foremost before you place people on a pedestal just because they have more money than you. Who's to say they didn't make that money the right way? They could just be a bad person with a lot of money. Do you really want to be like that? Do you really want to value someone like that more than yourself? Next up, the investments that I've raised. So now you're probably thinking, yeah, let's see if he's actually telling the truth. Now, thankfully, if you stick around long enough on this channel by subscribing and liking, you'll see a lot of these projects unfold. Or even if you go through the archives, you'll see some of the previous ones that we've used the investor finance for too. Now, these investments have either been used, are currently being used, or have been rejected due to it not working at this particular time. Yes, we've even turned down £180,000 at the back end of last year, but more on that later. So here are some sums of money I've raised, telling everyone what I do and being myself. So I've raised £40,000 from a friend who I've known since I was about 16. This is actually my favorite type of investor. As you know, they know exactly who you are, not the person you're trying to become online to raise finance or sell yourself. I've also raised £100,000 from family members. I've also raised £180,000 from my next door neighbour. I've I've raised £380,000 investor finance to buy this site, which I've spoken about a few times on this channel. I've also had £184,000 investor finance offered to us, which we didn't take at this current time. Again, nothing wrong with the investors who we still keep in touch with, but the deal just didn't work for both of us at this particular time. Now, just a quick point on this. If this was me 4 years ago, I may have undersold myself and accepted that offer. I may have thought, where the hell am I going to find £184,000 from? But now knowing my value and worth, we proposed something that we felt at least valued our skill set and experience in this deal. And sadly, it just didn't work out for both parties, but everything is still fine with relationships, and maybe in the future, something may come about. Next up, about £275,000 investor finance for our KC project, which I'm going to be documenting for you all on this channel. If you're interested in new builds, it's my first stab at it, so hopefully you can learn the mistakes and follow me on that journey. And one of the final ones is £90,000 for our Mansfield planning uplift, which was 100% investor funded. Now this comes down to about £1,065,000 without even including the £184,000 that we turned down. Plus, I've also been offered £10,000 to £50,000 by many people who follow me on Instagram, Facebook, who know me in personal life, but I haven't been able to take on. And simply speaking, I've turned down a lot of JV opportunities or even the ability to pay people back interest because the circumstances and the situation at the time didn't allow me to give them something back whilst being comfortable in delivering. And this is one thing I massively urge you all to do, is to treat their money safer than your own. Don't simply take money because you've raised it. You're paying for that privilege, not just in interest, but also in trust and credibility. I've loaned money to sharks. I've spoken about this many times, and I still see some of you speaking to these people who I've been in shoddy deals with and spoken about many times on this channel, who have taken money from me, my friends, my family, and paid them several months and even years back late. How? Through practically running a Ponzi scheme by taking other investors' money to pay off these debts. I really do feel for those investors there, so really be careful and don't be anything like these people. They're dangerous people and they exist today. So please have a proper plan in place, not just for yourself, but more importantly for your investors if you're going to take their money. It's not right to play with someone's life. So how do I raise money like this? Now, this isn't a cheeky plug for my IG, I promise you, as I hardly ever post there, but I have been writing something up recently that it's very easy to just look over and give you some tips. So if you're interested, by all means follow me there and check the post, which I'll hopefully have out in the next 5 days. I am going to be breaking it down as simple as possible, so you can literally look at it and think, let me just try this on a daily basis. But don't worry, I'm also going to be telling you here as well. But I won't be offended. If you don't want to follow me on Instagram, that's absolutely fine. So jumping back to raising the finance, I think it's really important to stress this, that everything I'm about to say now was never done intentionally either. So I wasn't some sort of mastermind at raising finance and trying to play this long game. I was just literally being myself. So firstly, be yourself. Don't try and be clever with your words. I screw up my words on a daily basis. I write posts and get my bears and boughts and broughts mixed up 24/7. And some of you watching are probably the grammar police that pick me up on that. But then I just sit there and think, well, as smart as you are with the English language, I'm the one out here raising finance. I'm just kidding. But anyway, be yourself. Find your way of communicating with the audience. And that could be through video, posts, YouTube, tweets, podcasts. Kind of a count on my fingers. But I think you know what I mean. Then get used to posting as much as you feel comfortable with on those particular platforms. Now, I'm very, very fortunate that I have this amazing gift, and I'm going to share it with you. It's that when I sit on the toilet seat, my brain goes into Einstein mode. I am literally the smartest creative person I know. And most of the posts I get traction for on Facebook or LinkedIn are actually made from the comfort of the golden throne. Now you, yourselves, may need to be in a more sanitary place and have a bit more thought behind the post that you put out there. That's absolutely fine too. But make sure you aren't spending more time talking about it, because the most important thing you need to be doing is getting better at it. For example, I used to document my journey and say pretty much all the time in all my videos thing about being teachable quickly. You see, as I got better, people managed to see this. I got more investment opportunities because I guess they knew, whilst being honest, and also more importantly, getting better too. And as good as the title King of Mistakes was, it was also a bit dangerous as well to risk having money thrown my way. But I did have to go through that and show this. You see, I don't like perception. Most of these clowns on social media living the fake guru lifestyle have no problem being actually crap at what they do, as long as they look good. I'm not about that, and hopefully you shouldn't be too, especially if you want to take this game seriously. This is a game that can change your life, but it can also cripple you too. So please don't take that lightly. Because if you're anything like me, if I take money from someone, I know, being the kind of person that I am, I'm sleeping every single night thinking about that. So I need to take with 100% assurance that I can deliver on what I'm saying. Next up, you want to know the numbers. I speak so much about this, but next up, you want to know your numbers. Now I speak so much about this, but numbers are everything in this game. It will literally teach you how much you can take and also what you can share with investors. Don't be greedy. If you really need investment, think of the long term. Think, can I grow quickly, earning less, but more over a longer period of time than taking more now but stagnating my growth? Next tip, separate yourself. I always like to do things differently. Hopefully you see that from my videos, from my edits, from my cuts and from my bloopers at the end. I don't like being like everyone else. And slowly people started to see my posts getting traction back in the day and imitate it. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I do that with trends on YouTube as well, and I take influence from a lot of people. But only do it if you're comfortable doing that. There's no point you trying to write something the way I write it if it's not your natural format. You're going to take longer and you're going to waste a lot of time. Plus, when your friends and family see it, they'll recognize and think, this don't ever sound like you. So make sure you sound like you. Next tip, don't give up. Very, very simple one. It's easy to give up, especially when nobody likes your posts. But what I will say is don't worry about likes or followers. Most people buy their followers nowadays, and likes really don't mean as much as you think. I have about 5% of the people I mentioned above who have given me money personally like my actual post, or even probably subscribe to this channel. Of course, I wish they all subscribed, like you guys, but working on investments together is much more fruitful, at least for my life right now. Plus, you'll also be surprised at how many lurkers exist. People are watching you daily. And just quickly adding to that, treat people with respect. Don't treat people you think have more money better than those who don't. Because one, that's just an indecent human thing to do. But two, you'll be surprised at who actually has money nowadays. I put about £150,000 into projects last year, yet here I am wearing a Primark t-shirt with no Rolex on my watch and a VW Sirocco outside. So it's easy to assume this guy probably doesn't have money. And that is about that, because I realised we've been rolling this for pretty long now and my battery is starting to bleed. My throat is sore and I have now, well, probably going to spend about 4 hours editing this. So I sincerely hope this helped you. I do hope you get the chance to maybe like and subscribe if you found this content useful. Please take advantage of the comments as well. I always try and respond to every single comment, bar a few random ones that I've been getting recently. And I'll try and help you as soon as I can. And now for the best part of the video, at least in my eyes, the bloopers where you get to laugh at me for a little bit. Thanks for watching. I think I'm going to stand for this one. Which is probably a good thing, which could potentially be a good, as well as you having that as a reference point if you wish to do so. I got more investment opportunity. Be nice if I could talk. There's some people, if you watch close enough, who are so nice when they're about to launch a book or a product or need something from you, but then suddenly ghost you when they've had their 10 seconds of promotion from yourself. Be mindful of those people as well. Watch people diligently.